quite like looking at some of my old Catholic humorous stories, some of them not so humorous, um, from the book Untucked, yet to see the light of day. One day, well, it got its title from the time one of my teenage sons and I passed each other in our narrow hallway decades ago, and he said to his father, "You should wear that untucked," referring to his father's t-shirt. And kind of think I've been untucked ever since. But see what you think of this. I think it's quite humorous. Catechumen's sponsor warned me about this group of mostly women who met at night once a week. Who the heck were they? Derek said he and a mate, a burly tough builder, Catholic, once risked it and ventured along to check them out. He said they stood secretively at the back. Isn't it good being a bloke? When the women started raising their hands, praising God, they bolted. It was enough just to get to be a Catholic and go to church. That was enough. Mostly women meeting at the hall at night during the week, not even on Sunday. Risky stuff. A little too dangerous for this baby Catholic. Then one day a little nun from New York visited. I'd been there, to New York. An insurance company recklessly sponsored me there for some training 6 years earlier. So anyone from New York, even a nun, was worth hearing at the Whangarei Boys High School hall. I wanted to get alongside her afterwards and see if she knew any of the guys from the Bronx Base Fire Marshal's office, or the Brooklyn's Fire Rescue Company, or the Deputy Fire Chief of the New York City Fire Department, also known as name calling or name dropping. Whether or not there was any chance that a little old nun from New York would know the same bunch of investigators and firemen that I did once, long ago, didn't matter. I stood at the back and listened. The big hall was full. Other churches were there. A group of musicians played pretty good music, I thought, just quietly. Modern music, not hymns. These guys were good musicians. Where had I seen them before? Oh yeah, the hall at the Catholic Church. A certain group who met on a Thursday night. I sat at the back, right at the back, right at the back and at the end. Then a little old nun from New York spoke, and later invited anyone who wanted to come up the front. We all stood, still. I thought that all the Catholics who were big on obedience thing would all march up. Only a few moved. A trickle at first, then a few more. No Catholics, though. What the heck's the story here? Catholics don't let the side down. We lead from the front. Take the mountain. All these other churches looking on. Darn it all. The little old nun from New York is inviting us to come up the front for a prayer and stuff. Harden up. I lingered, waiting. Then someone pushed me from behind. It was like a prod, someone digging their finger into my right shoulder blade. I looked around, smiling. Only Dr. Jones and his wife, good Catholics from our church, and they weren't going anywhere, and they hadn't prodded me. He got prodded, though, many years later, unfairly in my view, over alleged breaches of practice of a technical, mechanical nature, which never hurt anyone either, physically or mentally, but it was enough for national and even certain other overseas media to go after him with a vengeance. Journalists, doctors, Christians, priests, and used car salesmen, and real estate agents, and will the good ones step forward now? I stepped forward that night in the Whangarei Boys High School hall, devoid of goodness, to the front, like a good, obedient Catholic, to say hi to the little old nun from New York and have a prayer. Sooner or later, surely, my fellow Catholics would follow and join me. Some did, most didn't. At the front, I recognised some of the musicians and a woman from the Thursday night group. They were doing a laying on of hands thing and praying for people in person. Until then, I knew about praying for someone in your cupboard, out of sight, but not actually with someone. Heck, I was a juvenile Christian. I didn't know these things. No bells, no whistles, no train hooters, sirens, or caving in of the roof. Speaking of trains, I saw one being trashed once, which could be relevant, because drunken debauchery and participation of similar future events were coming to an end. It was drunken debauchery which caused the train trashing. That's trashing, not crashing. By some of Whangaree's most respected professionals at a Christmas party. As assessors, we worked hard and played hard, and some of the playing included invitations to end-of-year work celebrations. One in particular was regarded within professional circles as the cream of the crop. To be invited was to know you had arrived, and you were accepted into the elite circle of snobby Christmas work celebrations. Only they weren't very snobby. By about midnight, when the boat races were in full swing and the train passed by, boat races, to the uninitiated, were between teams of drinkers, usually drunken drinkers, trying to outdrink the other. The train passed the back of the party property at around midnight. This midnight express prompted highly qualified professionals to unleash salvos of jugs and glasses, some empty, some not, at the train. "Get the train!" the cry went up. We newcomers looked on in sozzled wonder at the elite let rip. It was weird. But harmless, as most of the projectiles were plastic and ineffectively fizzled out against the steel containers or logs, the train was up to it. More damage was done by Richard Preble when he and his government sold railways on the nation's silver years later. But it was a freight train coming, and like the Bob Dylan song, mine was coming. The boys' high school roof was up to it. It stayed up when I went up, but I never did get to speak to the little nun from New York. I did get to speak, though, to the group of mostly women every second Thursday night, when I joined their little group, which later became a big one. And stuff happened. Men turned up. Soon the men had our own group, and we met at 6 a.m. every Saturday morning. Afterwards we went to church for early morning communion, then went home to families. For some reason we all seemed to dress similarly, in denim jeans. We never planned it that way. Even the colour of clothing was the same. It was weird. Not a worry, really. Women worry about it sometimes. At a social gathering, men don't. So we didn't. But the priest thought we looked like some cult, some order of brothers, all walking in together every Saturday morning, dressed similarly. He joked about it. I suppose it was funny. I'm no longer in the Catholic Church. No, I didn't get excommunicated for similar dressing. Just moving away. Times change. We move on. One day I'd like to go back home to visit. I cherish my dearly Catholic family and my Catholic roots. The Catholic catechumen group's wife uttered her expletive to the aspiring new Catholic. That there, over there. Fortunately for all concerned, that there has now left the building. That's another story. Escalating rudeness. Hope you enjoyed that.